Well, we already have a clear growth plan up to just over 270,000 ounces of gold in 2029, and that's the first full year of production at Bilboes. But based on these exploration results, it does create the possibility for us to increase that further.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Mark Learmonth, the CEO of Caledonia Mining. Mark, very good to speak with you. Caledonia has announced two significant resource updates on the same day. What's the main message investors should take away from these announcements?
Yeah, well, thank you. Investors will already be aware of the significant growth in the business coming from recent acquisitions and a current mine construction that we're doing. But both of these resource updates show that we have organic growth opportunities arising from successful exploration, and they're across two assets: the Blanket Mine, which is already a producing gold mine, and at Motapa, which is a pure exploration play. So I guess the key message is that in addition to having built our pipeline through acquisition and development, we're also building our pipeline through exploration.
How do these results demonstrate the success of Caledonia's exploration strategy over the last few years, Mark?
Well, I've got to make it clear that exploration isn't a quick process. It takes years of painstaking effort and many millions of dollars. At Blanket, we restarted our exploration activities in 2021 when we completed the central shaft, and that gave us the flexibility to open up areas from which we could conduct our exploration. And since then, we've consistently found more material at depth with a better grade and better widths. And we've more than compensated for the ore resources that we've depleted through our ongoing mining activities. And it's fair to say that the cost of acquiring ounces through exploration is considerably lower than the cost of acquiring ounces through corporate activity. So Blanket's been a great success. Our strategy at Motapa, which we acquired several years ago, was entirely to identify a resource to complement the existing very substantial resource at the neighbouring Bilboes property, which we're currently developing into a new mine. And so that initial discovery at Motapa really vindicates that strategy and shows it was spot on.
Mark, Blanket's measured and indicated resources have increased by 22% to approximately 2.2 million ounces. How significant is this development for the future of the mine?
Well, I think it further underscores Blanket's position as a long life asset. Blanket's current life of mine plan, based on the resources that we had before this update, extended out to 2034. And as we say in the RNS, based on this new resource update, we're working on a revised life of mine plan, which incorporates these resources and should allow us certainly to extend Blanket's mine even further beyond 2034 and potentially also increase the rate of production. Also, I think what's important is the discovery of the shallow oxide resource at Blanket also gives us the opportunity to engage in the mining and processing of oxide material, and that could give rise to incremental production at Blanket as early as the first half of next year. And I think finally, although it's small, this is sort of also quite interesting. The discovery of that small new sulfide resource at Blanket could be important. We clearly need to do more work on it, more exploration and more metallurgical evaluation. But if we can find a significant new sulfide resource in that area, we could eventually mine that from underground, and that would allow us to increase the rate of production from underground mining operations. So it's very exciting.
Turning to Motapa, you've announced a maiden measured and indicated resource of 379,000 ounces. How important is this milestone for Caledonia?
Well, the importance isn't so much the quantum of the resource, it's the fact it demonstrates the existence of gold in a ore body, in a property that's immediately adjacent to Bilboes. As you say, the modest resource that we've already identified at Motapa only reflects the work that we did in 2024 and 2025. Exploration's continued into 2026 and is ongoing. And it's also fair to say that currently we're only exploring a relatively small proportion of the area at Motapa. There are plenty of other exploration targets there. We have a lot of ground to cover. So I just think it's an important milestone in that it vindicates the acquisition strategy for Motapa. But clearly, there's a long way to go yet.
Could Motapa ultimately support an expansion of Bilboes or an extension of its planned production profile?
Well, that was very much the intention when we acquired Motapa. So it's going to be a work in progress. We've got many years left to go, which is there's a 2-year build period for Bilboes, and then after that, Bilboes will be mining material from the southern portion of the Bilboes property for 6 years before it moves north. That gives us plenty of time to do more work to establish a bigger resource base at Motapa, but very much the idea to use Motapa either to extend the life of Bilboes and or increase its rate of production. That's very much the strategy.
Looking ahead 3 to 5 years, Mark, how do you see Blanket, Bilboes and Motapa fitting together to create the next phase of growth for Caledonia?
Well, we already have a clear growth plan up to just over 270,000 ounces of gold in 2029. And that's the first full year of production at Bilboes. But based on these exploration results, it does create the possibility for us to increase that further, if it gives us the possibility to increase production at Blanket, and as we discussed, potentially increase production at Bilboes. So it's a very important step forward in terms of underpinning and strengthening the development pipeline for the business. So it's great.
Well, Mark, I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress. Thank you very much for your time today.
Good, thank you.
Mark Learmonth, the CEO of Caledonia Mining.